Today we're going to be talking about Kathal, and I have with me the makers and the cast, Sanya Malhotra, Yashowardhan Mishra, Anant Joshi. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Hi, we're going to be talking about the fruits of your labor, or is it more like the labor of your fruit?
It's jackfruits of our labor.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the jackfruits of your labor. Like so far, jackpot is what we look forward to. But in this film, your jackfruit is the jackpot.
We hit the
Yes.
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 Like the word play.
Yes. That's good.
Yeah,
word
you
play.
hit it. Yeah, but of course, in the search for the jackfruit, there's so much more that is uncovered here. And before the interview, I was just telling Yashowardhan how I loved. It's such a cute comedic film, but there's ऐसे हंसते हंसते ऐसे बड़ी बड़ी बातें बोल जाते हो आप.
Yeah. The idea was not to just make a comedy for the sake of it, but to have some more subtext to it, some more layers. A little bit of observation of the society that we live in, because when you make a film, it has to be contextual, right? Like it has to be a document of the times, of the reality. So we've tried to include a lot of real stories within this basic story of finding, of the police force trying to finding themselves in a bureaucratic quagmire, I would say, in finding Kathals. And there is a lot of layers beneath. There's a lot of things going on underneath, which is what makes Kathal more interesting.
And what was so surprising to me was, and what a pleasant surprise to know you wrote this along with your father, Ashok Mishra, who gave us that beautiful gem called Welcome to Sajjanpur.
Yes.
And I didn't know this until after I watched the film. And then I see some shades, but like no similarities, but just shades that, tie the two together.
Yeah. The observation, the kind of humor which is very much observational, trying to find characters from reality, from real life, bases a lot of research, is a process that Ashokji has been following since the very beginning. And that is a process which I have inherited in Kathal. And it is also a process which the entire cast and crew has also inherited, because we have been to police stations, we've been to places where we have found these particular characters which they are playing. Sanya has done it. That process is very much similar, but the film is completely different, I would say. It's a film of today's times. It's a mystery, it's a romance. The audience is always, trying to find out where the film will go next, because it's always challenging the audience. It's never so simple, So all of those kind of trickery is there in Kathal, which I think the audience will really engage with, hopefully.
And absolutely, the script is wonderful, but you need these actors to kind of take it up a notch, right? And Sanya, what I found so challenging about your role is that even though it's a simple role, right, if not executed perfectly, any false note can look jarring, it could come off as irritating when you have such a sweet role. But I think you made the sweetness so spunky, and you added that sort of courageousness to it. And I liked all those layers that you gave to your character. So what did you feel about Mahima?
As there is so much that I learned from Mahima, and there is so much that I learned from the people that I met while I was prepping for Mahima. We both were very fortunate enough to have spent time in Gwalior, and we met an inspector in Gwalior, and she was very kind enough to have let us be around her for a day. And when I was approaching that character, I had a very masculine image of Mahima, and I don't know, maybe it's the uniform that I wore, but I wanted her to walk in a very strong, and that's what I thought she should look like. But it's after I met the inspector that I met in Gwalior, I realized that she had a very gentle approach towards her job, and she looked very feminine, and I think she was a very big source of inspiration for me, and how I wanted Mahima to look like. And we had such a good day with her.
Yeah, it was amazing.
She was so empathetic towards all the people who were coming to meet her, and she had so much patience, and that's something that is that's how Yashu also wrote Mahima, she's very gentle. You realize that she's very strong, she knows what she's doing, but at the same time she would prefer to do her work with kindness and not with, she can definitely like slap someone and get her work done, but she would never do that. Like uski jagah Kunti does it for Mahima कि मैडम सोटा से मारेंगी, वो धमकी देती है बट मैडम सोटा से नहीं मारेंगी, एंड द ओनली टाइम यू सी महिमा स्लैपिंग समवन उसके हाथ में दर्द होता है. तो मतलब वो it's also how Yashu has written her, which is so like simple and real, which I really liked about Mahima. She is someone who chooses kindness.
And her kindness and her vulnerability are actually her strengths
Yeah.
when it comes to his character.
True.
Yeah.
And speaking about vulnerability, Anant, I loved everything you brought to your role. Already it was such an endearing character, but the way you portrayed it, I think you really took it up a notch.
Oh wow, thanks. Thanks for that. I think it was also, it's so much in the writing. And because so there's I understand that when you perform a particular character, there's a cyclical process wherein you give something to the character and the character gives you a lot back. So when I was trying to give it, as much as I was trying to give a dimension to Saurabh, whether it was the beautiful arc that was the arc of redemption, which is always so endearing in any greater story, like whether it is Vibhishan in Ramayana, he comes from the demon side, but then it's the redemption that makes him a hero. So similarly for Saurabh, I think that was something that was outstanding. And his ability to accept that, okay, yeah, I made a mistake, I realized it, I can fix it, and I'll make sure it'll never happen. So that was something, that particular arc is what gave that endearing quality to the character.
I loved how you made this character non-violent.
Yeah.
A non-violent police officer. I'm thinking, how is that going to work? But if
I
you
think
have
it's
your
an
heart-
excellent
yeah.
representation, like, because we have been just seeing police in a very
Toxic,
violent,
masculine
exactly,
way,
and they're just violent, and one should just stay away from them, otherwise there's going to be no. But I think it's a good representation that they are there to help us, and they are for public service.
It's an extremely non-violent film.
Yeah.
I think I think the way police has been represented,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are mispronouncing it as Kathal, and when they expect Kathal in Kathal, it's not coming. It's really
There's no
not
Kathal and Kathal.
yeah. I think because there is so much violence around us, like everywhere in the news, and it's just so cumbersome, it's so tiring. So we wanted to make a film which can speak a lot for itself about the society, but still do it in a very non-violent way, having cops as the central leads. But there is really no need, I feel personally, because if there is a commitment to comedy, that commitment should sustain, and there is really no need for senseless violence, I would say. शेरों के जंगल में कोयल की कूक जैसी कटहल है, I would say, because there is so much noise around us.
And I think that's so true in the writing, right? That you don't have to wait for society to change. You can just effect that change in your writing.
Yeah.
Very similar to what Schitt's Creek does.
Yes.
You don't really have to delve into that whole darker, deeper side, but you can show what can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a beautiful, positive take, and that's what you take away from the film.
Absolutely. The simple act of a man apologizing
Yeah.
to the lady because he made a mistake, I think it's an act of bravery, I would say. I see it so rarely around me. Those kind of little things, which make us human, which make us better humans. I think we have tried to represent those emotions in Kathal.
Sanya, and let's normalize women in positions of power. I love that conversation that is triggered, and I loved that powerful woman you played, but almost, apologetically, in a very cute manner. But then you realize that it's okay. Everyone works the same hours. So I liked how you gave it all those small quirks, like I was telling you, your frustration, the way you portrayed frustration in different parts was also a complete study for me.
Yeah, it's the writing.
Yeah, and the surrounding as well.
And the surrounding.
Yeah.
It's also the team of actors that I was around, they're all like, they never stop acting. that scene never ends.
Yeah, I think that was the beautiful camaraderie that we all shared. Yeah, and it happened, and which is why we bonded so well. Because when we were, as actors, when we were working on those characters and performing those characters, we would just be there and respond to the situation.
Yeah,
So,
and when you have actors
and
like
thanks to the
Rajpal Yadav.
whole production to give us those surroundings, that was so easy to just respond. So we were just responding, and he would correct us. Like talking of violence, there were times, when, like in that scene when I'm entering the shop for the investigation. You know how it's conditioned that police wala hai, to like he'll be walking, हाँ भाई क्या चल रहा है? It's a condition.
Yeah.
So you would think, and as an actor, being performative, I was trying to do this, and I remember Yasho telling me he wouldn't walk. He would walk very gently. Even though he has come for investigation, he would not forget that he's Saurabh. He's brought up well. He comes from a nice family, like any other policeman. They're all coming from good families with their values. How can suddenly, a particular scene, or just because they are in power, can make you forget this? So what's nice about the film is that none of the characters leaves the being human aspect of them.
Yeah, in that whole framework,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something we were discussing as well, how each character has that to work with. And also it must have been great that this was a start to finish schedule, right? Like in 30 days you guys did it.
40.
40.
Oh, in 40
40
days,
days.
you did like a start to finish. So it must have been easier to remain in character.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
go
It
ahead.
is. It's always, I really prefer this way of working instead of like going in and out of a character. And a character like Mahima and a film like Kathal, you need to be in that space, in that world, and just lock yourself up and not get out of it.
It's a treat for actors, like particularly from an
Yeah.
actor point of view, it's a treat because I think that's the advantage or the privilege as actors we have, that we get this opportunity to widen our empathies towards so many lives that are happening out there, and then suddenly you become in that passive phase of life wherein you're not there to judge people what they're doing and how they're doing. You just observe them and feel them, that you try understanding life better and people better somehow. So schedules like these will give that benefit to us as well, to live it, to be there, and then be very natural, just like flow like water. Yeah.
And you guys spent time with police officials, right, during this. So did you pick up any physical mannerisms from them at all?
Yeah, as I said, with the inspector that we met
The
in Gwalior.
kindness, yeah.
No, she was very, I remember we were sitting there and someone came into her office, a man, and he said, meri biwi bhag gayi hai. And he was like, par tumhari galti hai. And I remember we both looked at each other ki galti hai, and she told us that ek hafta pehle उसकी बीवी आई थी बात करने, and she switched. She became much more kinder and she was like, but आज वो अपराधी नहीं है, आज वो अपनी प्रॉब्लम लेके आया है, तो मैं उसको नहीं सुना सकती हूँ कि तुम्हारी गलती है ये या कुछ है. तो she was like helping him and also was able to like keep her judgment aside कि no, एक हफ्ता पहले इसकी गलती थी पर आज इसकी गलती नहीं है, आज I have to help him. So that was very special to see. And we met another constable who was there on compassionate grounds.
Yeah.
Anguri Devi, her
Anukampa
life,
Niyukti.
yeah, Anukampa Niyukti.
Anukampa Niyukti.
So unka story was so special. Like her husband was in the police and he passed away, and they gave her the job. And she had 2 daughters, and just to be around them, to be around these real people, as he said, that we get scared to interact with the police, but they're there to help us. And there are only 11% female cops.
Wow.
In the country. It's such a shocking number. And when we were talking to that inspector, she told us that female, people find it very easy to come to us and talk about their problems. And that's the change we want, I think that's the comfort we want, so that we don't feel scared about them. So I think was my takeaway, and that really inspired me to make Mahima this, this person who is easy to talk to and is not scary.
And I think that's important, that we also see women in these roles and we see that sort of representation constantly taking place on screen, right? Sonakshi just played a cop in a very different film, But we can never have too many of them because you're saying only 11% women.
Yeah.
So more people need to see that yes, women, it's normal for women to take up these roles, and I think that should be the sort of progress. Now, you're speaking about the physical prep you've done. You're the Dangal girl. Nothing can ever match up to that. And this role is not so physical in that sense, right? So what was the prep that you did apart from all this interaction with the cops? On any other level, did you have to prepare for this role?
Of course, I think fitness is a part of my life now. And after Dangal, there was a major void because we used to really, we used to do 3 hours of training and 3 hours in the gym. So after the film got over, I took boxing and I do CrossFit. So it's every time I get into a character, I know how I want the character to look like. And playing a cop, I had to be like fast, I had to be agile, and I used to work out on sets also after shoot days.
I started working out because of her.
Oh,
I had no
this
workout routine
inspiration.
in my life. But I think after Kathal, I have this routine, and thanks to her.
I never started.
You didn't start, okay, no such bad habits, okay.
Yeah, but it has become a part of my life. So for this character, I think my posture improved quite a bit because I
As a
couldn't
police
like
officer, you had
ऐसे
to,
तो
like,
नहीं बैठ
stand
सकते
up.
थे. With that uniform, you can't look like a slouch potato.
But I'm sure this prep also helped for the other film that you were doing simultaneously called Jawan.
Yes.
We're all waiting for that.
Me too.
But what was that experience like? I'm sure you get this all the time, the curiosity.
I'm first of all very happy to be sharing this information with the rest of the world because till now I was just dodging these questions. Are you in Jawan? And I used to be like, I hope I get to work with Shah Rukh Khan one day.
Yeah.
And I used to say that, and I got a lot of comments after I posted it on my Instagram कि आप झूठ बोल रहे थे इतनी टाइम से आप तो थी नहीं ना अब क्या हो रहा है. But no, I was just being a professional, so I was not allowed to talk about it. But I'm very excited and happy to share this news that I'm a part of that film.
So we're so excited for you to confirm that because honestly we all had that sort of confusion after that statement came in from you. We were like, wait a second. Is she, and you know, when I told my friend, she's a good actor, yeah, don't believe her, I said.
How could I? But I used to think that how do I dodge this question? What do I say?
मैं जवान हूँ.
हाँ.
जवान में हूँ कि नहीं ये नहीं पता. जवान जरूर हूँ.
You should have, a writer.
I should have called you.
Yeah, you should have always called, when in doubt, call a writer.
जवान हाँ बिल्कुल.
जवान में हूँ.
That's so
Shit, this
cute.
is a good one.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. Beautiful.
तभी आप director हैं sir.
Writer, director.
And earlier there were so many jokes about Kathal, and then Athal. I'm sure there's so many rhyming possibilities with this fruit.
Yeah.
Subtle. We are always subtle performance.
Oh.
No, it's Kathal. Also called Kathal in some places. I've been getting so many messages since the trailer dropped from fans of jackfruit. People who love the fruit, you know, a lot of foodies and from everywhere. It's very popular in the north, in UP, MP. It's very popular in the south as well.
Yeah.
It's called different names at different places, but it's extremely popular. And also this is the Kathal season. अभी market में अच्छे बढ़िया कटहल मिल रहे हैं. तो yeah, like it's a festival of jackfruits. I
Like
think
मैंने एक
it's a good
YouTube
time.
comment पढ़ा था, एक thread था जिसमें था कि ये कटहल क्या है, किसी ने लिखा था और उसके नीचे thread पे था कि अरे ये अपना फानस है.
Correct.
Oh, wow. So many different
Because
names.
that's
Yeah,
known
absolutely.
in different
But
regions.
you have to be very careful considering it's Kathal season. Everyone needs to guard their Kathals very
I
carefully.
couldn't
Yes.
find one. So my dietitian gave me kathal biryani for lunch and kathal tacos for dinner. I couldn't find one. I was like, ये real life में भी मुझे नहीं मिल रहा है कटहल.
घर के बगल में जो पेड़ है वहाँ पे ही ऐसे
हाँ,
बड़े
अभी
But
पक
why?
गए.
Yeah.
अच्छे पेड़ है.
Apparently, this is a true story. The Kathal going missing is a true story.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just found out about that and I was like, that's bizarre.
Yes, it's very bizarre. I mean, we are so full of bizarre things happening around us. It makes for excellent satire when something like this happens. And we took that seed of an idea and we extrapolated it and we added a lot of different layers to it so that it becomes more than just the police force finding kathals. But yeah, it is inspired from true-ish events. I would say.
Wow, I thought this was so outlandish, but and I thought definitely inspired by true events could be the other parts of the story.
Oh, it is. It is. That too is.
That too.
That too is. Of
All
course.
right, wow, it's always, what do they say? Fact is stranger than fiction, right?
Absolutely. We cannot come up with
The
such
reality is stranger than
incidences.
Yeah.
We cannot. I mean, reality is so much more interesting. We just have to look out, you know.
And that cliche always stands true. But my time's up. It's been so wonderful talking to all of you.
Yeah.
Best
Thank
of
you.
luck, and I'm sure this is a film that people will enjoy, and more than that, I think it's going to put a smile on their face, and help them just think about it through the rest of their day.
Thank you.
Thank
you
Very
so
kind.
much.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.